Good day, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us for this webinar. What we're just going to quickly cover is a couple of things, just some of our new products and how to get access to them, and some of the things we've been working on, some of the new things that are coming. We hope to make these events, a regular occurrence. So if you, keen for any topics or anything you want to cover off on, basically to our select group of users. We're also interested in getting feedback from you guys about features and new benefits, etc. from the platform. So anything new you want to see, anything that you want us to bring to the top of the priority list, we're really keen to hear from you. We're also keen on getting some testers. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to us and we'll put you on our testing list to get early access to products. I'm going to start with the high resolution imagery, which we've been processing this season. It's been really successful, even though the summer season's been pretty horrible across Australia. We've had very good success with high resolution data. It's something that we've been working on for many years. Like we've been processing high resolution imagery for more than 15 years, but now we've got to build into a platform that we can try and automate the process for you so that you're getting your data quicker and easier and less reliant on trying to get neighbours involved and all that sort of thing. So, you can order down to a field level if you want. As you know, our free imagery product is a 10 metre by 10 metre resolution image from the Sentinel satellites. It's coming over every 5 days. We make that freely available, and obviously we've got huge user base now. Something like 14,500 farms are accessing our 10 metre data now on a 5 daily basis. But the high resolution is really where it comes into its own, where you're trying to get that much finer detail and better understanding of what's causing problems in your field. And this paddock's a good example. Here you can see there's a roadway going through that field, but on a 10 metre imagery, you really can't even see that impact. So you need that high level of detail, especially in intensive cropping, horticulture, cotton, those sort of crops, even rice, where you want to get finer detail. Actually, this crop is rice, the example I'm just showing here, where you're getting that much better detail. And it helps you better understand what's driving the differences in your paddock. And even things like the cross working is showing up here in the high res, whereas no way in the world you're going to see that on the 10 metre imagery. So it's a really great tool for helping you understand those paddock differences and creating prescription maps as a result of that to improve and reduce that variability of the field. Here's another vineyard example, just from a recent example where, the 10 metre data, because they're small paddocks, we're talking about 1.5 hectares here. The 10 metre data gives you an idea of the broad impacts, but it's not until you get into the half metre resolution that we're offering. This is a $10 a hectare product for 3 to 5 captures over a season. You start to see individual vine rows now, and you also start to see individual plants, and you'll see them as the season progressively starting to show up more and more. But each of those dots there is an individual vine, so you can track down to a vine level or a tree level accurately and over time. And this will, whilst the broad stuff will give you a broad overview, really you've got to get to this level of detail to help better understand those variations and manage the farm better in terms of, might be nutrient applications. In this case, I'm sure they'll be looking at segregating their harvesting based on these considerable differences in this paddock between the highs and lows. So, those sort of impacts are going to be better managed by the half metre resolution. We've processed now about 700 paddocks, and it's early January. So, we've been incredibly humbled by the amount of uptake of this technology, and we can only see this is going to grow and grow and grow more and more. as people become aware of the, the availability and the benefits of using high resolution. It's pretty simple to order. If you want to order, there's a button on the right-hand side. It pops up. It says Order High Resolution Imagery. You select the farm and the paddocks. You can see them here. You can pick them on and off as you want to. You can select them from the list or just tick them off the map. And so you can select as many paddocks as you like to order. Then that jumps over to the page asking you to select the product that you want. And there's two options at the moment, the 50 centimetre resolution or the sub-metre resolution. The 50 centimetre stuff's 3 to 5 captures over the 3-month window, or you can go out to 6 months if you want. But we're suggesting sort of every 3 weeks is what most clients are wanting. So you can pick your date range here. You select your product that you want to order. It tells you how many hectares. In this case, this vineyard was 7 hectares, and minimum order is $200. The next page after that just lets you confirm that order and gives you the terms and conditions that you should read, and gives a summary of all the blocks that you want. You agree with that and you submit your order, and we'll double check that before we send you an invoice and get that paid, and we can get the processing underway. Keep in mind that this is a high resolution is a tasked imagery system, so there is not routine captures. We've had some inquiry to say, well, I'd like to go back and get my November imagery. Well, it may or may not exist. So the high resolution imagery, because it's such fine detail and such big data sets, the companies do not routinely capture this data. So if you want this data, you have to pre-order. Otherwise, it's a bit of potluck whether we'll get imagery or not. So please get on and order that early so that we may have it, but we may not. So this is really about tasking satellites going forward. Also, yeah, you can go back to this page to actually look at all of your orders and to see what you have ordered and where it's at. So yeah, just keep that in mind as well. That same tab will take you back to this ordering screen. And we will send out the invoices and get that underway, and normally it takes 7 to 10 days after we get your order to get the satellites capturing, because it has to go through quite a process to the satellite companies to get that underway. The other exciting thing we're working on is the automatic EM mapping with SWATBOX. We've got a couple of these in the country now. We're actually got a few of them dotted around the countryside. We hope to have a heap more. It's basically pretty much an automated EM mapping system. It's a standard EM in the box that you see here. So it's a normal EM 38, or you can run a topsoil mapper as well if you've got one. But it's fully suspended and travels behind the vehicle. It's not interfered by the vehicle components. There's a simple cable that goes back into the cab, and all of your in-field monitoring is done on like an iPad or a tablet, whatever you've got in the cab, and it's recording the data on the machine, but it's also transmitting that to the cloud. So you don't have to worry about pulling data down in different formats or any of that. It's all transmitted remotely. When you come back into range, if you're out of range, it's all stored on the device. Really simple to use. We've done quite a few thousand hectares already with these, and we're very impressed with the data quality and the ease of use. So we'll be looking to extend the amount of these that we have in the country, and we'll have this fully integrated in our platform as time goes on. Higher rates, we're looking at about $3.50 a hectare plus GST. That'll include the hire of the unit, dry hire, and the data processing for you. So basically, you don't have to do anything. It's about driving the vehicle. We're also supplying a guidance system for you so that you can drive recommended swaths. Normally, we're looking at about 30 metres swath width for dryland, broadacre agriculture. If you're in vineyards or tree crops, then maybe 10 or 15 metres is better. We also have an RTK system with this, so you can get high accuracy elevation, and I'll show you a bit about that at the moment in the next couple of slides. But in reality, you know, we can get the elevation data from a tractor as well. So you know, it plugs straight into the boxes as well, and it's fully automated. So really keen to hear if you want to use these systems. We've got them, like I said, a couple of them in the country now. We're getting them out and about through New South Wales, Victoria, and through Queensland. We've got a few clients in northern Queensland as well. So let us know. We're probably driving at about 25 to 30 kilometres an hour maximum, and the machine handles it very well, just depending on how rough your country is that you're mapping. Any questions, fire us an email, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. Like I said, it's an EM38, so it measures 2 depths down to 3/4 of a metre and 1.5 metres into the soil profile. And both those readings are logged with the GPS location. There's a GPS on here as well, which locates the swap box in the paddock. You get a full live readout in the cab of the results as you go, so you can see if it's working, and you can see where you've been. You can look at the paddock as you're going, and it's a really good tool to help you understand the soil variability in that paddock. We've got a couple of YouTubes to go up on that as well, and also a training video on how to set it up, but it's very simple to set up on your ute. Just goes into the toe bore tongue on your ute. I just want to show you a couple of results out of it. This is a farm near Toowoomba. This is an elevation map in the background, the highest point of the field down to the lowest point of the field, and also you can see the flow path. So as part of all the SWAT mapping process, elevation and drainage is a critical part of that, because you know, soil type and drainage go hand in hand, and we process all of those data sets for you when deriving your 10 zones from the process. This shows you the water flow through the paddock, and also you can actually get, I'll show you in a minute, the ponded areas as well as the rises and falls of the paddock. It's just really important to understand that as part of your EC mapping. Here is the raw electrical conductivity data. In this paddock, we had quite a few salinity issues here we're trying to detect. In this area of the field, the green area here, was these better soil types. So obviously telling you different things. There's salinity in this area, but this is a better soil type. So that's why ground truthing is critically important when you're doing this. So you do need to soil sample to calibrate. This shows the different parts of the landscape. So the red areas here are concave, so it means they shed water, and the blue areas here are accumulating water. So it's important to understand where water flow is actually happening on the paddock to take that into account, because soil, water and topography all mix together, and that's why it's really important that you sample and zone based on those factors. For this particular paddock, we took 7 samples to calibrate this machine, and I'll show you just the EC and the salt readings, but we know that this site was dominated by salt. So this is some of the work that we did when we extracted the data from the EM. The EM readings here are driven by the salt, and if I start at the top right, down the bottom is the EM reading on the x-axis. On the y-axis here, we've got ECs. There was pretty high electrical conductivities here, and you can see the deep readings are in blue and the shallow readings are in orange. There's very good correlations, obviously, between total salt content, which is EC, and the EM readings, both in the shallow and deep. And when I look at the, go to this one, bottom left, so the dominant salt is chloride in this case, and you can see the readings get quite high. So again, we're pretty confident that it's driven by a salt, and particularly chloride. And if I look at the connection with sodium or sodicity, you can see again there's very good correlations, because often salinity and sodicity go hand in hand. So salinity is total salt in the soil solution. sodium is the sodium attached to the clay particle. So what we need to do in this situation is go back and look at treating those sodic areas to flush those salts. This farm here is actually irrigated, so it gives us the benefit of flushing those salts through the profile, but we need to get rid of that sodicity to do that. So it's going to be a multi-part process, but it's going to take some time to shift some of these salts out of the profile. But you can see, really important to get an EM over that to understand those soil differences and get a better understanding of how that paddock's performing and what you can do to fix it. That's all I had to cover off on. Look forward to any emails or questions that you have, and thanks again for joining us on the webinar.